Haplogroup J, Nakh, Dagestanian, Northeast Caucasian. But before we get too deep into the video, first I want to tell you guys about my social media platforms. So I have a Clubhouse account and we can actually talk to one another on it. I also host Clubhouse rooms every now and then where I might talk about history and genetics of the Middle East and Africa. I have a Twitter page, a Facebook account, and a Facebook page, as well as a Instagram, all titled The Hebrew of Israel. And what I typically do on these platforms is post upcoming videos as well as slides for my presentations. And so just be on the lookout for all of that on my social media platforms. And if you want to support me financially for the channel, you can look at my Patreon as well as my PayPal and my GoFundMe. And with all of that out of the way, let's begin with the video. So where is the highest proportions of haplogroup J among ancient populations? This is from Upper Paleolithic genomes reveal deep roots of modern Eurasians, and it says both Georgian hunter-gatherer samples were assigned to haplogroup J with Katos belonging to the subhaplogroup J2A. And here is where we found it in the western portion of modern-day Georgia in the Caucasus. And this is origin and diffusion of human Y chromosome haplogroup J1-M267, and it says around the time of the Neolithic demographic transition, the genome-wide ancestry of West Asian populations was geographically structured into three groups. Among them, haplogroup J-M304 is found in the Caucasus/Iranian and Anatolian hunter-gatherers and farmers. The J1B-F4306 and J1A2-PH77 branches split off at the very beginning. These are rare lineages distributed mostly among ancient and modern populations of the Caucasus, the Armenian highland, Iran, and Pakistan. Interestingly, the 13,000-year-old hunter-gatherer from the South Caucasus belongs to J1B-F4306. The J1A1B-Z18375 branch has a geographic distribution subsequently overlapping with that of the J1B-F4306 and J1A2-PH77 branches. The J1A1B-Z18375 branch is found overwhelmingly among ancient and modern populations from the Caucasus, the Armenian highland, Iran, and Anatolia. This branch constitutes the aforementioned peak of haplogroup J1-M267 frequency in the Northeast Caucasus. Haplogroup J1-M267 were found among populations living in the Caucasus and neighboring regions. Our Bayesian continuous phylogenetic analysis suggests the origin of haplogroup J1-M267 in West Asia, confirming previous assumptions. Most of the deeply diverged lineages belong to the populations from the northern latitudes of the region, in line with the finding of the late Pleistocene hunter-gatherer from the South Caucasus. Our analysis provides better statistical confidence for the origin of haplogroup J1-M267 in the area encompassing the Caucasus, the Armenian highland, and the Zagros Mountains. So, where is the highest proportions of haplogroup J among modern populations? What part of the world and what ethnic group or groups and what language do they speak? So this is parallel evolution of genes and languages in the Caucasus region. And it says, again, haplogroup J2A4B star-M6 7 encompassed 51 through 79% of the Y chromosomes in the English and 3 Chechenian populations, Northeast Caucasus, Nakh linguistic group. Finally, Haplogroup J1*M267 encompassed 44 through 99% of the Avar, Dargins, Kateaks, Chubachi, and Lezgians, Southeast Caucasus, Dagestan linguistic group. And excuse me for some of my mispronunciations. And so here's a map that actually shows the geographic location when it comes to the studies in the sample, or the studies, the samples in the study, excuse me. So as you can see in red, this is dealing with the Chechenians, and is specifically Chechenians of the Nakh group, and in green is the Dagestan or Dagestan. And so here it is right here, here it is right there, and typically the Nakh group is haplogroup J1, and the Dagestanian is haplogroup J2. So these groups have up to 99%, basically 100% of haplogroup J. So haplogroup J is found highest among the Nakh Dagestan people. So who are the Nakh Dagestan? So the Northeast Caucasian languages, also called East Caucasian or Nakh Dagestanian languages, is a family of languages spoken in the Russian Republic of Dagestan and Chechnya and Ingushetia and the North Azerbaijan, as well as in diaspora populations in Western Europe and the Middle East. And there's like a map showing you again the Chechnya and Dagestan, where you find these Northeast Caucasian peoples. Several names have been in use for this family. The most common term, Northeast Caucasian, contrasts the 3 established families of the Caucasian languages: Northeast Caucasian, Northwest Caucasian, and South Caucasian. And so here's like a chart made by Nichols in 2003, basically, showing the tree of the Northeast Nakh Dagestanian languages. And here's another chart made in 2009 by Suchulz. And here's one made in 2009 as well. I think this is one of the best ones when looking at the trees, the various trees of the Northeast Caucasian languages and people. So, connections to Hurrians and Urartians. Some linguists, notably Igor M. Dankov and Starstrian, see evidence of a genealogical connection between the Northeast Caucasian family and the extinct languages Hurrian and Urartian. Hurrian was spoken in various parts of the Fertile Crescent in the 3rd and 2nd millennium BC. Urartian was the language of Urartu, a powerful state that existed between 1000 BC or earlier and 585 BC in the area centered on Lake Van in current Turkey. The 2 languages are classified together as the Hurro-Urartian family. Dankov proposed the name Alarduyan for the union of Hurro-Urartian and Northeast Caucasian. The Proto-Northeast Caucasian language had many terms for agriculture, and Jonah Nichols has suggested that its speakers may have been involved in the development of agriculture in the Fertile Crescent and only later moved north to the Caucasus. So the Nakh Dagestanian is a Northeast Caucasian language, and one of the branches of the Nakh Dagestanian is the Alor, the uh, Alordian language. So the Alordian languages are a proposed language family that encompass the Northeast Caucasian Nakh Dagestanian languages and the extinct Hurrian languages. So the term Alor-Odian is derived from Greek, the name of an ancient ethnic group mentioned by Herodotus, which is usually equated with the peoples of the Kingdom of Urartu in modern-day Armenia, northwest Iran, and eastern Turkey. And there's a map of the ancient Urartian kingdom. And so the term Alordian languages was revived by I.M. Denkoff for the proposed language family that unites the Hurrian and Northeast Caucasian languages. Worked by I.M. Denkoff and Starstrian in 1986, asserted the connection between Nakh Dagestanian Northeast Caucasian and Hurrian on the basis of comparison for their reconstruction to Proto-Nakh Dagestanian, later published in 1994 with Nicole Levoy. So another branch of the Nakh Dagestanian Northeast Caucasian language is the Hurrian language that we mentioned. So the Hurrian languages are an extinct language family of the ancient Near East, encompassing only two known languages, which is Hurrian and Urartian. And the geographic distribution is Armenia, Anatolia, Syria, Mesopotamia, and the Zagros Mountains. It is often assumed that the Urartian language, or a pre-split Proto-Hurrian language, were originally spoken in the Kor-Araxes culture. So here's just a map showing Hurrian in brown, and this is the typical distribution of where this language was spoken, at least early in the early Bronze Age. So the Nakh Dagestanian Northeast Caucasian language basically came from the North Caucasian languages. So the North Caucasian languages, sometimes simply called Caucasian, is a proposed language family consisting of a pair of well-established language families spoken in the Caucasus, predominantly in the north, consisting of the Northwest Caucasian family and the Northeast Caucasian family. And so here's just a map of the West Caucasian and the East Caucasian languages and people. And then here's just a pie chart, or really a tree chart, of the North Caucasian family tree of languages. And so all these branches from the Alorodian, the Hurrian, the Nakh Dagestanian, and the North Caucasian all derive from the parent language, just simply called Caucasian. So the Caucasian languages comprise a large and extremely varied array of languages spoken by more than 10,000 people in the area of the Caucasus Mountains, which lie between the Black and Caspian Seas, or Sea. So three of these families have no current indigenous members outside the Caucasus and are considered indigenous to the area. So that's one thing that a lot of people sort of get confused about when we use the term Caucasian here in the West. Really, technically, Caucasian is one, it's a language family and it's a people group, but it's a very specific language family and a very specific people group. It's technically incorrect to call Indo-European peoples Caucasians. Caucasians are their own sort of like thing. They're their own people, their own language group. Caucasian actually isn't even classified as an Indo-European language. It's literally its own isolate. So when we use terms like, Anglo-Saxons or Germans, they're Caucasian, no. This is technically incorrect. they're Indo-Europeans. People like Georgians would be Caucasians, but that's just something interesting to know about Caucasians. They're indigenous people of the Caucasus. But anyways, our focus is the Northeast Caucasian, which also called the Nakh Dagestanian or Caspian family, with a total of about 3.8 million speakers. So linguists such as Sergei Starstrom see the Northeast Nakh Dagestanian and Northwest families, Northwest Caucasian families of related and proposed uniting them in a single North Caucasian family, sometimes called Cossack or simply Caucasian. So this is from Britannia, and it says Caucasian languages. So the Caucasian languages, group of languages indigenous to Transcaucasia and adjacent areas of the Caucasus region between the Black and Caspian Seas. As used in this article, the term excludes the Indo-European, and that's what I was referring to earlier. Caucasian is its own language family. It's not Indo-European. So the Turkic languages, it excludes the Indo-European, the Turkic languages, and other languages of the area, all of which were introduced to the Caucasus in historical times. The Caucasian languages are found in the territory north and south of the Greater Caucasus region. The Caucasian languages fall into three typologically well-defined language families: the Northwest Caucasian, the Northeast Caucasian, and the South Caucasian. So the North Caucasian languages are divided into two groups: the Northwest Caucasian languages and the Northeast Caucasian languages. The Nakh Dagestanian group consists of the Nakh and the Dagestanian languages. Some investigators subdivide the Nakh Dagestanian languages into two independent groups: Central Caucasian language, which is the Nakh, and the East Caucasian language, which is Dagestan. So the Chechens and Ingush live in Chechnya and Ingushetia. Both Chechenyan and Ingush, which are fairly similar to one another, are written. And so this is another article dealing with the Caucasian language families. And basically the Ibero-Caucasian language family is one of the several language families spoken in the Caucasus Mountains, a narrow land bridge between the Black and Caspian Sea, home to one of the highest concentrations of language families. All are believed to have been in the area for many thousands of years. The puzzle of the isolated Caucasian languages have been attracting the attention of scholars since the 19th century. And that's what I was referring to earlier. It's an isolated language family. That's why it's not Indo-European or anything else. It's isolated. But anyways, they have tried in vain to relate Caucasian languages to languages spoken outside the Caucasus area. They did succeed, however, in establishing links between the North Caucasian languages and extinct languages that are spoken in Anatolia, in present-day Turkey and Mesopotamia, in present-day Iraq, and North Caucasian languages belong to two families: the Northwest Caucasian and the Northeast Caucasian family, which is called Nakh Dagestanian. And so here's a book dealing with Caucasian languages as well. I just want to really, get as in depth as possible for y'all to understand when it comes to these Caucasian languages, specifically Nakh Dagestani. So this book is called Current Trends in Caucasian, East European, and Inter-Asian Linguistics. So it says Nakh Dagestanian, Northeast Caucasian. Of the three Caucasian language families, only the Nakh Dagestanian has a family tree of comparable complexity to that of Indo-European. The three Nakh languages, which is Chechenyan, Ingush, and the outlier, the Bats, probably go back to a deep division in the family, and many experts believe that Proto-Nakh split off somewhat earlier than the ancestors of the Dagestanian branches. The ultimate linguistic relations of Nakh Dagestanian, or Northeast Caucasian, have yet been established with certainty, but there is general consensus about its internal structure. The Nakh Dagestanian languages form a family. The Nakh languages are a family, and the Dagestanian and Nakh are sisters and comprise the two branches of Northeast Caucasian. So when they mean the sisters, they both come from Nakh Dagestanian, then one split here and the other split here. That's what they mean. So Denkoff and Starstrom in 1986 assumed that Hurrian and Urartian is related to Nakh Dagestanian and assemble punitive cognate sets so as to maximize similarities between the two families. So the Alderian, the Hurrian and Urartian, the Nakh Dagestanian, and Caucasian in general are all associated with Haplogroup J in ancient times. This is from How Eurasia Was Born, and it says, the Northeast Caucasian language family seems to show clear links to ancient Eastern Anatolia, as most subclades of J1-Z101842 TMRCA is 4300 BCE can be linked to the Armenia highlands in present-day Azerbaijan, precisely fitting the exact location of the Kora-Araxes culture, which is 3400 BCE through 2000 BCE. Three subclades of it, J1-ZS3042 TMRCA is 3500 BCE, and J1-ZS5658 TMRCA is 2800 BCE, and J1-ZS2872, which was 2800 BCE, and J1-Z5353 TMRCA 2500 BCE are widespread among Northeast Caucasian groups, suggests that Northeast Caucasian languages to have originated from the Kora-Araxes culture, as ancient J1 subclades also seem to have been present in the ancient Levant as well. This supports the existence of the Alderian language family, linking Hurrian to Northeast Caucasian. Regarding the Northwest Caucasian language family, broader analysis of other genetic components by Yavit confirmed that Northwest Caucasian populations also originate from south of the Caucasus, thus from within the cradle of the Neolithic Middle East. This also supports their supposed relations to the Indo-European family, and suggests that their homeland must have been in close proximity with that of the Indo-European homeland in eastern Anatolia. On the other hand, it must have been the west of the Northeast Caucasian homeland, as the latter seem to have covered the entire Kora-Araxes culture area. The presence of J2-M67 in Northwest Caucasian populations also points to the origins south of the Caucasus, although as J2-M67 is present in human populations belonging to both Northwest Caucasian and Northeast Caucasian language groups. It is somewhat ambiguous to which language family did the population that introduced it in the region belongs to. So, to this day, the highest percentage of Haplogroup J among these Caucasian groups, like the Nakh Dagestanian, specifically the Chechenian and the English. So this, again, is from Parallel Evolution of Genes and Languages in the Caucasus region, and it says, we also employ a lexiconal statistical approach to reconstruct the history of the languages of the North Caucasian family spoken by the Caucasus populations. We found a different major haplogroup to be prevalent in each of the four sets of populations, that occupy distinct geographic regions and belong to different linguistic branches. The haplogroup frequency correlated with geographical and even more strongly with language. Within haplogroups, a number of haplotype clusters were shown to be specific to individual populations and languages. The data suggests a direct origin of Caucasus male lineages from the Near East, followed by high levels of isolation, differentiation, and genetic drift. Insight 2. Comparison of genetic and linguistic reconstructions covering the last few millennia showed striking correspondence between the topology and dates of the respective gene and language trees, and with documented historical events. Overall, in the Caucasus region, unmatched levels of gene language coevolution occurred within geographical isolated populations, probably due to its mountainous terrain. Again, haplogroup J2A4B *M67 comprised 51 through 79% of the Y chromosomes in the English and 3 Chechenian populations, Northeast Caucasus, Nakh linguistic group. Finally, haplogroup J1 *M267 comprised 44 through 99% of the Avars, Dargins, Kakites, Kabachi, and Luzgians, Southeast Caucasus, Dagestanian linguistic group. And again, here's just the area that we're dealing with, this area of the Northeast Caucasus, where you find these Chechenians and English, basically these Nakh Dagestanian groups. The MDS plot of pairwise genetic distance showed strong regional clustering separating populations from Europe, the Near East, and the Caucasus, with samples from the Caucasus grouping closer to the Near East samples than the European ones. Of those three clusters, the Caucasus appeared to be the most diverse, with distinguishable subgroup variation within it. The first subgroup included Dagestanian speakers, Avar, Dargins, Kabachi, Kakites. The second, the Nakh speakers, 3 Chechenian populations, and the English, and the third, Abkhazo-Abagian speakers. This plot illustrates both the common Near Eastern background of all Caucasus populations and the pronounced intra-Caucasus genetic differentiation into groupings that corresponded well with their linguistic affiliation. So here is, all these Caucasus or Caucasian populations. Of course, they're all clustered very close together. And then next to them will be Near Eastern populations, which is fairly interesting, and we'll touch on more on that later. But here, when it comes to the linguistic tree, we have the North Caucasian that we talked about earlier, and then the Northeast Caucasian. And then it breaks into the sister branches of the Nakh and the Dagestani, and then you have groups like the Chechenians and the English and the Avars, and so on and so forth. And this also interestingly matches what we see genetically as well, that basically the genetics, the genetic tree and the linguistic tree match each other. So that's very interesting. So combining genetic and linguistic findings, we now propose a model of the evolution of the Caucasus population. The final tree was obtained by merging the genetic clusters with the background linguistic tree. We concluded that the Caucasus gene pool originated from a subset of the Near Eastern pool due to a Upper Paleolithic or Neolithic migration, followed by a significant genetic drift, but probably due to isolation in the extremely mountainous landscape. Very interesting. We'll touch more deeper on that later. And when it comes to Y-DNA paternal haplogroups, these Caucasian populations have the highest amounts of haplogroup J. So looking at this is J-M304, and here are the two branches. And you have the English and the Chechens, and they have up to 87%. And then you have other groups like the Avars and the Dargians and the Kobachi, and they have up to like around 44 to 99%. So they have very, very high amounts of haplogroup J. And here's just another chart right here showing up to 98.5% all the way to like 50%, 48%. Here's the references, by the way, seen in, again, Caucasian populations, Dargians, Avars, etc. And here is J2. That was, by the way, J1. Here's J2, seen up to 87.4%. Here are the references, seen in English and Chechens, as I said earlier. Caucasian populations have some of the highest amounts of haplogroup J. So what have we gathered with this study? One, the origins of haplogroup J is in the Caucasus. Two, the oldest samples of haplogroup J is with the Caucasus hunter-gatherers. Three, the oldest language family with haplogroup J are Caucasians, specifically Nakh Dagestani. 4, the highest modern ethnic groups with haplogroup J are Caucasian populations, specifically the Nakh Dagestani. So there is a strong association with haplogroup J and the Caucasus and Caucasian groups. In the past, we discussed about haplogroup J and ancient Indo-Europeans as well as modern Indo-Europeans. Now we should look into another perspective of haplogroup J being Caucasian in origin as well. And remember, Caucasian is neither Indo-European nor Semitic. It's its own isolated language, its own people group, etc. So let's look deeper into the connection between Caucasian and haplogroup J. But this is where we specifically end haplogroup J, Nakh Dagestanian, Northeast Caucasian. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, click the bell, and leave a comment for any questions you might have. And with all of that out of the way, have a great day and shalom.